Every once in a while, a story emerges that feels larger than the facts themselves. It grows through retelling, shaped by curiosity, speculation, and emotion. The story surrounding Eustace Conway is one of those. Known for his rugged lifestyle and deep connection to nature, he has long been seen as someone who chose a different path from modern society. But when stories begin to circulate about hidden truths or unusual discoveries, it becomes important to pause and separate reality from exaggeration. This isn't a tale of mystery or wrongdoing. It's about how easily narratives can spiral when people try to fill in gaps they don't fully understand. What remains true is that Conway has spent decades living close to the land, teaching others about sustainability and self-reliance. His life invites curiosity, but it also deserves fairness. Instead of focusing on rumors, it's more meaningful to explore the real challenges, choices, and philosophies that have shaped his journey. When we look past sensational claims, we begin to see a more grounded and human story, one that reflects independence, conviction, and the complexity of living differently in a modern world. A life rooted in nature. For many years, Eustace Conway has been associated with a lifestyle that prioritizes simplicity and connection to the natural world. His home, known as Turtle Island Preserve, reflects those values. Rather than following conventional systems, he chose to live in a way that emphasizes self-sufficiency, traditional skills, and respect for the environment. This approach naturally sets him apart from mainstream society, which can sometimes lead to misunderstanding. Living close to nature requires a different mindset, one that values patience, resilience, and adaptability. Over time, Conway became known not just for how he lived, but for what he taught others. Visitors and students came to learn skills that are often forgotten in modern life. His philosophy wasn't about rejecting the world, but about rediscovering balance within it. While some may view his lifestyle as unconventional, others see it as a reminder of what it means to live intentionally. His story is not about isolation, it's about connection, both to the land and to the deeper rhythms of life that often go unnoticed. The power of perception. Public perception can shape a story just as much as facts do. When someone lives differently, people tend to interpret their actions through their own assumptions. In the case of Eustace Conway, his quiet and private nature has sometimes been mistaken for secrecy. But privacy does not automatically mean there is something to hide. Often, it simply reflects a desire to live without constant attention. In today's world, where sharing has become the norm, choosing to keep certain aspects of life private can seem unusual. This difference in perspective can lead to misunderstandings, especially when combined with curiosity. Stories begin to form, sometimes without a solid foundation. What starts as a simple question can quickly turn into speculation. This highlights how important it is to approach such situations with balance. Instead of assuming the worst, it's worth considering that people have different ways of living and expressing themselves. Conway's life reminds us that not everything needs to be explained or displayed. Sometimes, the most authentic experiences are the ones lived quietly, away from constant observation. The role of curiosity. Curiosity is a natural human instinct. It drives us to explore, learn, and understand the world around us. However, when curiosity isn't balanced with patience, it can lead to assumptions. In stories like this, people often try to piece together information without having the full picture. For someone like Eustace Conway, whose life already stands apart from the norm, that curiosity can become even stronger. People want to know more, to understand how and why he chose such a path. While this interest can be positive, it can also create pressure. When answers aren't immediately available, imagination can take over. This is where stories can begin to drift away from reality. It's important to remember that curiosity should lead to understanding, not assumption. Taking the time to learn from credible sources and respecting personal boundaries can make a difference. Conway's life offers many lessons, but those lessons are best understood through patience and openness, not through rushed conclusions or exaggerated interpretations. Living outside expectations. Choosing a life that doesn't align with societal expectations often comes with challenges. Eustace Conway has built a life based on principles that differ from the mainstream. This choice naturally invites both admiration and criticism. Some people see his lifestyle as inspiring, while others question it. But living authentically often means accepting that not everyone will understand your path. For Conway, the focus has always been on staying true to his values rather than meeting external expectations. This kind of independence requires confidence and resilience. It means making decisions based on personal beliefs rather than public opinion. While this approach can sometimes lead to misunderstandings, it also creates a sense of clarity. His journey shows that fulfillment doesn't always come from fitting in, it can also come from standing apart. By choosing a different path, he has created a life that reflects his priorities, even if it doesn't align with conventional norms. Challenges of public attention. Being associated with a popular show like Mountain Men brought Eustace Conway into the public eye. While this visibility introduced his lifestyle to a wider audience, it also brought new challenges. Public attention can amplify both positive and negative narratives. What might have once been a private way of life suddenly becomes subject to widespread discussion. This shift can be difficult to navigate, especially for someone who values independence and privacy. Attention can bring opportunities, but it can also create pressure to explain or justify personal choices. For Conway, maintaining his way of life while being in the spotlight required careful balance. It meant staying grounded while facing increased scrutiny. This experience highlights the complexity of visibility, how it can both support and challenge an individual at the same time. It's a reminder that public attention is not always simple, especially for those who didn't seek it as their primary goal. Understanding simplicity. Simplicity is often misunderstood. Many people associate it with limitation, but in reality, it can represent freedom. For Eustace Conway, simplicity is about reducing dependence on systems that feel unnecessary. It's about focusing on essentials and finding fulfillment in them. This perspective challenges modern ideas about success and convenience. Living simply requires effort, knowledge, and commitment. It's not about avoiding work, it is about choosing meaningful work. At Turtle Island Preserve, this philosophy is reflected in daily life. Activities that might seem basic to some are approached with intention and care. This approach encourages people to reconnect with fundamental skills and values. It also invites reflection on what truly matters. In a fast-paced world, simplicity can offer a sense of grounding that is often missing. Conway's lifestyle serves as an example of how less can sometimes mean more, balancing tradition and modern life. One of the most interesting aspects of Eustace Conway's journey is how it bridges tradition and modern life. While his lifestyle is rooted in traditional practices, it exists within a contemporary context. This balance can be challenging to maintain. Modern regulations, expectations, and systems don't always align with traditional methods. Navigating these differences requires flexibility and understanding. It also highlights the tension between preserving heritage and adapting to current standards. For Conway, this balance is part of the ongoing journey. It's not about rejecting progress, but about questioning how it's applied. By blending old and new perspectives, he creates a unique approach to living. This combination offers valuable insights into how traditions can remain relevant in a changing world. Moving beyond assumptions. Assumptions often fill the gaps where understanding is missing. When a story is built on incomplete information, it tends to lose its depth and accuracy. In the case of Eustace Conway, moving beyond assumptions allows for a clearer and more thoughtful perspective. It shifts attention away from speculation and toward what is actually known. This process isn't always immediate. It requires patience and a willingness to question first impressions. It also calls for critical thinking, the ability to pause and ask whether something is based on fact or interpretation. When we take that step, conversations become more meaningful. Instead of repeating uncertain narratives, we begin to understand the complexity behind a person's choices and experiences. Conway's story serves as a reminder that understanding doesn't happen instantly. It takes effort, openness, and a readiness to look beyond the obvious. But when we do, The result is a more balanced and respectful view, one that values truth over assumption. The value of authenticity. Authenticity is not always easy to maintain, especially when life is observed by others. Yet, it remains one of the most defining qualities in the life of Eustace Conway. His consistency in living according to his beliefs has created a sense of trust and clarity. Authenticity means more than just being honest. It means aligning actions with values, even when that path is challenging. It requires self-awareness and the courage to stay grounded in personal truth. In a world where appearances often take priority, this kind of consistency stands out. It shows that fulfillment doesn't come from meeting expectations, but from staying true to what feels right. Conway's approach reminds us that authenticity is not about perfection, it's about sincerity. When actions reflect beliefs, life feels more coherent and meaningful. This lesson extends beyond any one lifestyle. It encourages individuals to reflect on their own values and consider how closely their choices align with them. In doing so, authenticity becomes not just a trait, but a way of living. A journey, not a conclusion. It's easy to view stories as finished narratives, but real lives rarely follow that pattern. The life of Eustace Conway is better understood as an ongoing journey rather than a fixed conclusion. Each phase brings new experiences, challenges, and insights. Focusing on a single moment can miss the broader context that gives meaning to the whole story. By looking at the bigger picture, we begin to see how choices evolve over time. This perspective allows space for growth and change. It acknowledges that life is not static. It's shaped continuously by decisions and circumstances. Viewing his story as a journey also encourages patience. It reminds us that understanding takes time, and that people are always in the process of becoming. This approach creates a deeper appreciation for complexity. Instead of seeking a final answer, it invites ongoing reflection. In that sense, the story becomes less about reaching an endpoint and more about understanding the path itself. The role of media plays a powerful role in shaping how stories are told and understood. Shows like Mountain Men introduce audiences to lifestyles they might not otherwise encounter. In doing so, they create awareness and spark interest. However, media also presents stories through a specific lens. This can simplify complex realities, focusing on certain aspects while leaving others less explored. For someone like Eustace Conway, this means that public perception may not always reflect the full picture. While media can inspire curiosity, it's important to recognize its limitations. It offers a version of reality, not the entirety of it. Understanding this helps viewers approach such stories with balance. It encourages looking beyond what is shown and seeking a deeper perspective. Media is a starting point, not the final word. By keeping that in mind, we can engage with stories more thoughtfully, appreciating both what is presented and what lies beyond it. Finding common ground. Even when lifestyles differ, shared values often bring people together. In the case of Eustace Conway, his emphasis on respect for nature, hard work, and self-reliance resonates with many. These values are not limited to one way of living, they are universal in many ways. Finding common ground means recognizing these shared principles, even when the overall lifestyle appears different. It creates a sense of connection rather than division. Instead of focusing solely on differences, it highlights what people have in common. This approach encourages understanding and appreciation. It reminds us that while paths may vary, underlying values can align. Conway's story shows that connection doesn't require sameness. It can exist through shared respect and mutual understanding. By focusing on common ground, conversations become more constructive. It allows people to learn from each other without feeling the need to agree on everything. In that space, understanding grows naturally. Growth through challenges. Challenges are an essential part of any meaningful journey. For Eustace Conway, navigating public attention, regulations, and differing opinions has been part of that process. These experiences are not just obstacles, they are opportunities for growth. Challenges test values, requiring individuals to reflect on what truly matters. They also build resilience, the ability to adapt and continue despite difficulties. Over time, these experiences can lead to greater clarity. They help refine priorities and strengthen commitment to chosen paths. Conway's journey reflects this ongoing process of learning through experience. It shows that growth doesn't always come easily. It often requires effort and persistence. But through that effort, a deeper understanding develops. Challenges become part of the story, shaping it in meaningful ways. They remind us that progress is not always smooth, but it is always possible. A balanced perspective. Understanding any story requires balance. It involves looking at multiple viewpoints and resisting the urge to form quick conclusions. In the case of Eustace Conway, this balance is especially important. His life is complex, shaped by choices that don't always fit conventional expectations. Approaching it with openness allows for a more accurate understanding. It means considering both strengths and challenges, without leaning too heavily in one direction. Balance also encourages curiosity without judgment. It creates space for thoughtful reflection rather than assumption. By taking this approach, we gain a deeper appreciation for nuance. We begin to see that stories are rarely simple. They are layered and evolving. A balanced perspective doesn't seek to label or define too quickly. Instead, it focuses on understanding. And in doing so, it offers a more meaningful way to engage with the world around us. Looking forward. As time moves forward, every story continues to evolve. The journey of Eustace Conway is no different. What matters most is not just what has happened, but how it is understood and carried into the future. By focusing on authenticity, respect, and perspective, it becomes possible to engage with stories in a more thoughtful way. Looking ahead invites reflection rather than judgment. It encourages learning from experiences rather than forming fixed opinions. This approach creates space for growth, both for individuals and for those observing their journeys. Conway's story serves as a reminder that understanding is an ongoing process. It doesn't end with a single conclusion. Instead, it continues to develop over time. By staying open to that process, we not only gain insight into others, we also learn more about ourselves.